Okay. I'm going to tell you a few stories tonight about me that I've not shared before. So bear with me. I'm going to tell you about my perspective on the power of the feminine. And when I talk about the feminine, I just want to be really clear that what I'm talking about is feminine energy. So I'm not talking about gender, I'm not talking about sexuality, I'm not talking about equal rights or feminism. I'm talking about this idea that we all have a mix of masculine and feminine energy within us. So to start off, if you could all close your eyes, if you don't mind, just close your eyes. And if it feels good for you, you can put a hand on your heart. And I'm going to read some words out to you, because I want you to tune in to these words and what they mean for you. Oh, hold on one second. Is that music? Oh, let's turn the music down. Can we turn the music down a little bit? Thank you. No, it's great. Thank you for saying. Okay, hands on heart, if it feels good for you. And just listen to these words and see how they land for you. Just feel into what your connection to these words are. Being, doing, sensing, thinking, abstract, concrete, body, head, receiving, thrusting, allowing, pushing, soft, hard, power, force, surrender, controlling, nurturing, rushing, calm, busy, receptive, assertive, tranquil, striving, intuitive, analytical, creative, logical. And just take a moment to see if you can feel into the difference between the two words. There's an opposing word in each. And feel into how present that feels within you. Notice if you can tell the difference between the masculine energy and the feminine energy. I'm not making one better than the other, they're both absolutely the same. We all have them. And I believe an empowered woman has a perfect balance between the two. I'll tell you more about that. So you can open your eyes, and I just wonder, did you feel what was more masculine, what was more feminine in those words? Hands up if you related more to the masculine energy. Oh, not as many as I thought might. I do. Well, not so much now, but I did. And that's going to be the story I'm going to tell. Feminine energy, you related most to that. Great. Who feels like they've got got it down, perfect balance? Perfect. No? Yeah, it's just balance. And when I talk about balance, to be really clear, what I'm meaning as well is, because I don't actually believe in that we can be balanced all the time. I believe like when you zoom out of your life, generally there's a balance. In the day-to-day, there's not going to be a balance. I think sometimes we need our masculine energy and sometimes we need our feminine. And some days we've got this beautiful dance between the two going on, but the idea is to, in general, be in some level of balance. And the reason I'm speaking on this tonight is because I had to learn that balance for myself. I had to discover that being in feminine was actually so freaking powerful. And I know I've got a few women in the room who work with me who are working that, and they, I think, will agree with me. What we desire comes in when we're in our feminine, when we're able to utilize and work the feminine energy traits. But we need to know what they are to start with. So my journey into masculine-feminine dynamics wasn't planned. It wasn't on my agenda at all. What was on my agenda was getting laid. I had been single for a solid 8 years. I'd had a few mingles with men here and there, but generally I'd been single for 8 years and I was desperate to meet my soulmate. I was so ready. And I tried everything. Now here's where the masculine comes in. I had tried everything. I thought I'd figured everything out and nothing was working. I tried online dating. I tried dating apps. I'd asked friends to set me up on blind dates. I traveled the world going to events and festivals where I thought my guy would hang out. It was cool, but I didn't meet him. And I was exhausted. And it was painful because I genuinely thought there was something wrong with me. I thought that I was damaged in some way, that I couldn't have what other people had easily. And I had this attitude that, look, this is called a daring and mighty dinner. I believed I was daring and mighty. I wasn't going to give up. I have that inbred into me. I'm not going to give up. I'll do whatever it takes. And I used to walk around the house. I had post-it notes everywhere around my house saying I can and I will. I decided I can and this affirmation, I can and I will meet my guy. And I used to walk around the house going, I fucking can, I fucking will. I fucking can and I fucking will. And when it came to my finances, because I was a single parent, I was starting a new business, I had a good couple of years there that were pretty on the edge. I fucking can and I fucking will worked. Like, it got me through, it paid the bills, it had me show up, I didn't have a choice. But it was exhausting, and it wasn't really my truth. It was like I was utilizing one part of me, not all of me. So I didn't feel aligned, but I didn't know that, I just knew I was tired. And so I decided there must be another way. And being a coach, and by the way, this is professionally humiliating. Because I was a self-love coach and I couldn't find someone to love me, right? It was kind of a hard thing to admit at the time, until I got unapologetic about it. I was like, get over it, Katie. Do whatever it takes to find your guy. And so I decided to hire a coach because I think the role, or one of the roles of a coach, is to shine a light on what we can't see for ourselves. I thought I must have mindset blocks, behavioral habits, something going on within me that it's so familiar to me that I can't see it for myself. So I decided to hire a coach. And this is where it gets really interesting, because at this time I wasn't connected to this idea that I had a feminine energy. Except even when we don't know about it, even when we think we aren't able to utilize it, it's at work. Like, it's always at work. It doesn't just disappear. It's always there. And so while my decision to hire a coach was definitely an intellectual one, I was trying to figure it out, it was my feminine coming through, the desire. That's the feminine, that desire to meet my guy. That was leading me to hire a coach. That passion, that I could feel it in my body how it would be to meet him. That feeling is the feminine. So I was pretty surprised when two coaches came to me. Not one, I thought I was going for one, but two came in, a man and a woman. And I thought, wow, I'm a pretty shit hot manifester. That's amazing. Not one, but two. And what was amazing to me was that both of them, like, I didn't know what I needed to learn. I didn't know this was going to become a journey into the power of the feminine. I didn't know I was going to have to learn how to utilize my feminine energy. But both of these coaches that literally came to me, I did no research, I didn't ask around. It was like out of the blue, they both came into my sphere and they both felt good. So again, the feminine, it felt good for me. And they both unapologetically modeled feminine energy. And what was really cool was that the man did. His feminine energy was really powerful. And that was just really interesting to me. So he was such an empowered masculine that he had the balance of both. And she was the empowered feminine, and she had the balance of both. So as it happened, to find my guy, I had to find myself on a whole other level. And I discovered I was preparing myself for him to come to me. The work wasn't about how the fuck do I find him. The work was total faith and trust, because the feminine is totally connected to universe and source energy. She is magnetic. Total faith and trust that he's coming. And my only job is to prepare myself. I just got to be ready. And I want to be the vibrational match to him, because the guy I wanted to attract was, well, like, any single women in the room, by the way? Oh, a few, okay. So, I'm sure you'll agree, the person that you want to attract is so cool, right? They're gorgeous, they're intelligent, they're like loving, they're emotionally available, you know, they got it going on, right? So to call that in, you have to be the vibrational match to that. So the work is on you. So that was my work, was to prepare myself. So I'm going to progress my story. at this point in my life, I was what I decided, in writing the speech for tonight, like working out what I wanted to say, I kind of realized what happened to me on my journey, and I realized that there are levels to discovering and working with your feminine energy, and we work with what we're ready for. Same with the masculine. I've done a lot of healing around my own masculine energy as well, and there's levels to that. So level 1 for me was getting okay with surrendering, doing nothing, like not having to work at it. Because when I hired the coaches, I still believed I had to work at it. I had to work hard for it. So step 1, level 1 for me was just surrendering that life has this. Life is designed to support me. Life is going to bring him in. And it required me to start just putting myself first. It was so basic, but fuck, it was so hard. Like putting myself first. I thought, you know, you're only allowed to have a spa day if you've worked really hard and achieved that goal and made that money and right? Like, you don't get to have a spa day. You don't get to have a sleep in or just a duvet day and watch Netflix all day just because you want to. You don't. Like, there's no value in that. So I had to learn to value different things. So we went through some words before, just to look at the difference between masculine and feminine energy. And I had to learn this. So the masculine is all about, it's like pushing, striving. It's about achieving goals. It's about making money. It's about career progression. It's about getting the next qualification. Our patriarchal society values the masculine energy because I think we get, like, it's a tangible result. There's usually, not always, but there's usually kind of something tangible. You go, yeah, I've made more money. Yeah, I've got the pay rise. Yes, I've ticked all those things off my to-do list. I ran the most amazing dinner party. You know, I got all the vacuuming done today. You're like, but it's tangible. You can kind of see a result, and we've learned to only value that. So the feminine invites us to value feeling, to value surrendering, to value nurturing your body, to value creativity, intuition, collaboration, like all these feminine traits. The feminine invites us into that, and that was level 1 power of the feminine for me. And it worked. My guy came in, like literally, and it was like a gestation really. It's really weird because literally 9 months after starting work with these 2 coaches, he came in, and he literally came to me. And it was easy, it was fun, it was magical, it was like, it was just meant to be. It was just, I didn't have to do anything. All I did was, I had loads of spa days. I also worked hard on my mindset, I'm not gonna lie, like there is the other side. Like, I'm not discounting the masculine, we need the masculine. So I was checking out my belief systems. I was healing, conditioning, and programming that I'd taken on largely from, you know, my family when I was growing up. I was doing all that good stuff. And I was just taking care of myself. And actually, when I met James on our first date, well, not on our first date, but in reflection of our first date, he told me one of the things he really fell for immediately was that I had myself. He found that, his word was intriguing. He thought I was really curious because I had me. And I was open-hearted, and I wanted to connect with him, but I had me, and that's the power of the feminine. She has her, she's got this. But we need the masculine too, because for me to meet him, like, that took action. Like, I had to go on Bumble and meet him, but I didn't go on Bumble until I was inspired to. The feminine inspires the masculine. So, like, life guided me, and somebody randomly in New York I was on a conversation with, and he'd stayed at my home once, and he said, Katie, so I say that I realize I'm swearing a lot, but he said, for fuck's sake, you live on a farm in the middle of nowhere, you're never going to meet your guy. Bumble is a new thing, you should try it. And I was like, oh, okay, and it felt good. So the feminine is all about feeling. So I met my guy, Tick. And then I discovered there was this whole other way of doing life. This balance. And the feminine wasn't going to let up. Like, that was, as far as she was concerned, that was just the beginning. And so it moved into my business. And like those of you who know me, and you can probably get a sense if you don't know me that well, it's kind of my life's purpose. I love my work. I love inspiring women. I love helping women to be the next level of who they're meant to be. That's my thing. And so of course I had to invite the feminine into my business. And as soon as I made that decision, like any of you who've experienced any level of transformation will know, usually everything collapses and crumbles. There's a coming undone, there's an unraveling, there's a, what's the word that you used before? Sorry, to put you on the spot, doesn't matter. Yeah. There's an unraveling and a coming undone, and oh my God. And because it was the feminine inviting me, my body came undone. Because the home of the feminine is the body, the home of the masculine is the head, the intellect. My body just came undone. It actually turned out to be the beginning of my perimenopause journey. Whole other story. But my body started to, like, well, look, I started to get terrible cystic acne. Terrible, awful. This is, and by the way, just to give you some time frames here to put this into perspective, because I want you to get how quick the feminine works as well, because it's quite magical. So we're 18 months ago, so it was December before last. Terrible cystic acne out of the blue. Horrendous night sweats. Brain fog, couldn't think straight, totally uninspired. Anxiety, depression, like that, boom, out of nowhere. And I was a year into my brand new relationship. And so that was a whole other level of trust and surrender with him, because there he was, seeing me like this. And I thought, okay, I'm being invited to something here. Now this wasn't easy for me, but I knew that the feminine was asking me to trust my body, to just trust the process. Thankfully, I live in the Sussex countryside, and at the time I lived on the beginning of a public footpath out into kind of the middle of nowhere, and nobody else was ever there. So every single morning I would get up, and this went on for about 3 months. I'd get up and I'd walk. I'd wake up and I'd feel like shit, and I'd look like shit, and I'd be crying, and it kind of progressively got worse every day, weirdly, which my masculine wasn't dealing with because it didn't make sense. Like, how could I be getting worse when I was doing something that's meant to make me feel better? But I kept trusting, and I kept trusting, and I kept trusting that what I needed was to walk. And I would, yeah, the first 3 hours of every day would be getting up, going for my walk, and I would like walk and cry, and then stomp, and then walk and cry and stomp. And what I didn't know was that, and I can see in retrospect, that I was essentially kind of transmuting energy. I was clearing all my years of conditioning and programming, doing life one way, but then I was clearing generations of it. Because when we do transformational work, we're not just doing it for ourselves, we're doing it for the generations before us and the generations to come. And if you're really freaking committed, like, you're really feeling that as well. And I was feeling that, and I was trusting my body. But I couldn't, hand on heart, say that I was unwaveringly trusting my body, because at the time I was 43, and I had the memory that when my mum was 45, that's when she first tried to kill herself, and then she succeeded 5 years later. And I know that was the beginning of her perimenopause journey, and she had clinical depression, and I thought, oh my God, I thought I'd averted this. If any of you have seen my TEDx talk, I talk about my rock bottom moments. That was the other, it turns out we have lots of rock bottom moments, I'm discovering. I thought I'd averted that. I thought, oh, that's good, I'm good now. And it had me questioning who I was, everything I was about, all the work I did. I was like, oh my God, I thought I circumnavigated that. I thought I was on the right track, and here I am feeling anxious and depressed, and I don't know what to do about it. So it was a really, really scary time. And I was very much on my own with it, because who can understand that? Like, it has to be your own journey, right? So I kept walking. And then one day, and this is the power of the feminine, one day I was walking, and it was bad. I was like crying, and then I was so angry. I was literally in the middle of nowhere, thankfully. I don't think I could have let it happen if I wasn't in the middle of nowhere. And there was this like surge of energy and anger, and I can't even put words to it, that just surged up through me. And I don't know if you've heard, depression can be called the black dog. It's like I don't know where that came from. So this term came to me, the black dog, and it came up and it rose through my body, and then I just went, fuck you, black dog, fuck off. No more. I am done. And there was this like depth, like this guttural kind of roar in me. I was like, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not going down that rabbit hole anymore. I'm done. And then I was like, oh, felt really good. And I woke up the next day, and no word of a lie, it had gone. So I had 3 months of this depression just getting worse. But because, I mean, I can't stress this enough. I wasn't trusting it like I'm so gifted and know how to trust this process. It was hard, and I was scared. But I committed to trusting my body and the feminine every day, and I trusted that something greater than me was at play here, because I knew I was meant for something more, and I knew I was put on the planet to serve and help women in a way that, like, I was like, this is going to help other people somehow, someday. And it cleared it. Well, it cleared the depression. My skin cleared up really quickly, like within a couple of weeks. I was like, oh my God, my skin was good again. But I was still really uninspired in my business. And because of what I've been going through the last 3 months, and what I called my mental health walks, they just enabled me to show up for my clients. Like, I had a client list. I was able to service them, but I was only able to service them if I did my 3 hours every morning of walking, juicing, being there for me. And then I could be there for them. And then I had to repeat. It was like rinse, repeat every day for 3 months. I hadn't been doing any major marketing. The only marketing I'd done was a £10,000 Facebook ad funnel campaign thing that totally crashed and burned. So that was 10K down the chute. I had no inspiration to bring in new business. I was utterly uninterested. Like, I wanted it, but I couldn't. And I'd reached a point, I'm like, I can't do anything unless I feel it. If I don't feel it, I can't do it. I couldn't make myself send an email out to my mailing list. I couldn't make myself go to a networking event and approach somebody. If it didn't feel good for me, I couldn't do it. And quite frankly, not much was feeling good for me. So I was called, again, at a whole other level, to surrender, to just let the business go, just stop. And I stopped. I had a handful of clients, a little bit of money trickling in. I was doing my best. And actually, it was pretty good what I was actually, and there's a couple of clients in the room here who were with me during that time, and they probably would never have noticed. That was a massive unraveling. So I was being called to really stop and really trust. And I had so much time and space. Like, it was unbelievable. And in that time and space, I was able to start re-evaluating. Because, so here's the thing, with the masculine, like I was saying before, it's all about doing, right? It's doing words, it's verbs, and we achieve, we've got something tangible to show for it. The feminine, all that she's about, they're verbs too. Intuiting, creating, collaborating, nurturing, receiving, surrendering, they're all doing words. Because I've learned to value them. And so I was learning to value that way of being. And at the same time, I was looking at my business, and I was being asked to re-evaluate money, what business meant, what success meant to me, like, what was this business about? I'd grown up influenced by the patriarchy. Business was about making money. And that was what was motivating me for a long time. And to be fair, when I was a single parent, I needed to make money. Nobody was paying for my life. I can assure you there was no money coming from any other source except for me. My granddad actually, rest his soul, helped me out a few times. But it was me, it was all on me. So business was about making money. And now it wasn't. It just wasn't. So how do you run a business when it's not about making money? Like, okay, yes, I knew I had a purpose. Yes, I knew I was inspired to help women. But like, how do you do that if the focus isn't on, like, it was subtle to tweak it. And I started to realize that what I valued was inspiration. I needed to be inspired by the women that I worked with. I needed to feel inspired myself. It was feeling creative. It was valuing having time and freedom. I was starting to tune into what was really important to me, and then I was being asked, so how do you run a business like that? How do you run a business from that place? And I'm still kind of figuring it out. This is a manifestation of how you run a business from that place, because this feels really fun for me, like inspiring women, passionate people, or with purpose, or with passion. Like, what were the 3 words for this event? Passion, purpose, and something else.
Potential.
Desire.
Potential.
It wasn't potential.
Power.
Potential.
Well, yes. Anywho, this is a manifestation of that time. And to be clear, some pretty incredible things have happened. So my black dog moment. 2 months after that, a house that I owned with my ex-partner, my son's father. After 9 years of not selling it, it sold. Boom. So by the way, when you activate the feminine, money comes from different routes. I decided that my business wasn't the source of my money. It just wasn't anymore. My business was my source of inspiration. It was my source of creativity, source of fun, freedom, time, pleasure, all that good feminine stuff. So money came from other ways. This house, which I genuinely written off. I thought, I'm probably never going to see that. It sold. Thank you. 3 months after that, it was in summer last year, I was in Lombok and James proposed to me, which was beautiful. And then 5 days later, we were married in Bali. And my friends who were with us on holiday planned the whole thing for me. I did nothing. Like, I was on a deserted beach in Lombok. I was doing yin yoga every day. That's a whole other story, I know, but there's yogis in the room, but yin yoga is key to being in your feminine and being an almighty manifestor. I was just doing yoga every day and swimming. The only thing I had to do was find a dress, and I won't tell you the whole story because I'm sure you're hungry, but suffice to say the dress and the rings and everything, it just came to me. And and the wedding was, it's not like I briefed anybody, but I'd written it in my journal because the feminine is great at visioning. And I knew exactly what I wanted, and it's exactly times 100 what I received. And it cost probably 1/10 of the price that I expected it to. So while I didn't earn and work hard to make the money to have the dream wedding, I received the dream wedding, and it was a win-win. And this is the other piece with the feminine, it's always a win-win. Like, I received the dream wedding. My friends, although they might argue the point, but I'm pretty sure they really enjoyed doing it. I kind of hijacked their holiday. But I'm pretty sure they enjoyed planning the wedding. We had the most spectacular time. A couple of months after that, James and I bought a house, which we are now renovating. A couple of months after that, a personal loan that I made to a friend that was 5 years overdue. It was a big loan, got paid back. And the win-win was the friendship was stronger than ever as a result. It was a huge learning and clearing for us both. I healed massively my relationship with my dad. I mean, like, so much has happened in the space of a year because of the unraveling. So that's the power of the feminine. Like, when we engage it, I promise you miracles happen. I don't know, because is anybody relating to anything I'm saying? Has anyone experienced it? Thanks, thank you. Right, you get it. But we forget, and I genuinely wake up most days with amnesia, and I have to remind myself that the way to do life is with this, like, to serve both my masculine and my feminine. It's a dance every day, and I have to remind myself every day, and every day I ask myself, how do I feel, what do I need? And every day I look to my business, which, by the way, is doing amazing. And I got amazing clients, and they light me up, and there's a win-win right there. Yeah, my business has probably never been as successful as it is now. And considering a year ago, it was dead, it's pretty good, right? Such is the power of the feminine. So yeah, every day is the dance, every day is the remembering, every day is choosing it. And the feminine knows that life is designed to support us. It just is. Even when you feel like you're not being supported, it's just an opportunity for growth. And the more we can lean into that and trust that, the more our heart's desires come. So I guess my question for you this evening is, how could you bring the feminine into your life, into your world, into your relationships, into your business even more? And what do you need? And what are you willing to surrender to? What are you willing to allow to heal? Yeah. And if you want support in that, never up. Of course.